For my presentation, I'm going to be talking about gender and sex. So gender is not sex. They're different things. Sex is assigned at birth. As you can see in the middle here, it is you're either male or female. Some people are intersex, but that's very rare. Gender is defined by society and yourself. Those who that is how you identify. Currently, we mainly have man and woman, though now we're opening up to having more genders, and a sexual orientation is a different thing that I'm not focusing on today. The main differences between, like, the real sex differences are chromosomal. Men have XY chromosomes and female have XX chromosomes, and the sex organs are different as well. Additionally, the ability to carry a baby and to breastfeed. Hormones are different. Men produce testosterone and progesterone. Women tend to produce estrogen. Physical size and strength is another component. So there are a lot of stereotypes about masculine versus feminine characteristics and traits. So males tend to be the breadwinner, tend to fix things, protect, lead, deal with the gross stuff and the active stuff, and they're the big disciplinarians. Meanwhile, females are seen as caregivers, mothers, housemaids, or they do work. They cook, they follow their wife, and their eye candy, and those are characteristics. And there are many more traits as well, like careless, independent, aggressive, financially minded, the fun parent, playful, funny, angry, horny, disrespectful, emotionless, dominant, provider, wild, strong, athletic, street smart, analytical, rational, dirtier, and they care less about their appearance, and those are for men, the traits that are commonly male. And so commonly women common traits tend to be obedient, over emotional, caring, quiet, caring about their appearance, naive, pure and innocent, dependent. They're softer, they're less than, they're meek, they're catty, sensitive, serious, gossipy, follower, desperate, expiring, clumsy, and sexualized. So there are also socialized gender differences, like voice and speech. Women's voices tend to go up in tone as they finish a statement, as if they're asking permission to interject their opinion, and that's called uptalk. Men have an Adam's apple, and their voices get lower and stronger and louder over time. Women's voices tend to be softer and quieter. Also, a socialized gender difference is clothing. Women's clothing tends to be more body defying. Men's clothing tends to be looser. Pants versus dresses is one example of that. And as you can see in this picture, there's a very clear like color association. Pink is for girls and blue is for boys. Additionally, things like leisure activities, social desires, mannerisms, and character traits, as well as gender roles, play into socialized gender differences. In 2018, Pew Research did a social trends study in which they looked at which words were most positively and negatively associated with men and women. So in America, we think it is bad for men to be compassionate, and it is bad for women to be powerful. Not one circumstance is a man described as beautiful, and no woman is ever a provider. And those can be seen in these two dots. Good traits for men include leadership, ambition, strength, and power, and for women, kindness, compassion, responsibility, and caring. These biases are harmful for women and people outside of the gender binary. Being emotional is worse for a man than being violent. Being seen as a feeling or vulnerable is worse for a man than being abusive, which is very notable. Being beautiful is better for a woman than being independent, and being outspoken is bad, but being promiscuous is the absolute worst for women. What else is gendered? Everything, from soda, food, clothes, deodorant, fragrances, cars, phone cases. As you can see here, there are a lot of examples from books to bibs to binoculars and even to earplugs. And there's still a question as to whether things can be transgendered as they are gendered, but I think that is still developing and may not really be a thing, but it may be in the future. Who knows? So gender socialization. From essentially the moment we are born, we are taught gender roles and norms. As with race, the roles, norms, and characteristics we tend to associate with gender are usually assigned different values, but most often what is masculine or male is valued over what is feminine or female. There are also a lot of double standards or multiple standards that are gendered, like yelling and aggression, or having on the left you can see the a heated discussion for men would be seen as a cat fight for women. Sexual behavior in terms of like what's appropriate, clothing, makeup, stuff like that. Caring and the idea that boys will be boys. When women have a lot of sex, they're seen as sluts, but when men have a lot of sex, they're seen almost as pimps. That's another big one. So a big thing that was talked about during the course was the socialization of man, the idea of the man box. And the things inside of the box are what you should be, and the things outside of the box are what you should not be. And there is the discourse around the F slur. It's used by American boys to describe any unmanly behavior, states of being, or attitudes, effectively males critiquing one another for not being manly enough. Despite the majority of men or boys supporting gay rights in marriage, it is all too common, and it idealized the unmasculine man that men and boys are afraid of. That is also part of the self-policing. Why is this important to me? Well, as a woman, the stereotypes and traits and characteristics mentioned earlier are problematic, if at best, and sexist and misogynistic at worst. At worst, and is starting to become less applicable as more people don't start to fit outside of the gender binary. I wanted to bring attention to these issues so that as a society, we can try to break down the gender stereotypes that are so dangerously being like so obvious and so dangerous. This is currently happening now, I feel, on a large scale through the internet and other large platforms on social media. But I feel that it needs to be more prevalent in classrooms in a smaller scale, things like classrooms, the cafeteria, just daily life, like one-on-one conversations, where if you see or hear someone, being disrespectful because of gender identity or using stereotypes to try and define what a woman is, instead of just letting it happen, if it's safe, explain why that's wrong and explain how to fix it. Yeah, so those are the big things. And yep. So this is also from the Women's March, I believe in 2018. It was, or maybe 2017, I'm not entirely sure, but this was one of these movements that I found important for women speaking up for their rights. And although this was specific to the former president, I feel that it reflects like kind of standing up for against these stereotypes and these gender norms that are so problematic. Thank you.